Hi there, I'm Andy, CEO at ProspectSoft, and I'm really excited to be telling you today about the best kept secret for growing wholesale, distribution, and manufacturing businesses. In this short video, we'll cover why you should care about RFM, what RFM is, and how you should use it. Then we'll wrap up by quickly covering some more free tools and techniques and guides, and with a few steps that you can take towards creating repeatable and predictable growth in your business. So first of all, why do you need RFM? Why is it so important in wholesale and distribution? Simply put, RFM segmentation is the #1 strategy in wholesale and distribution growth playbook. What do we mean by that? Well, everyone wants a repeatable and predictable way to grow their business. And to do that, ideally you need to be a mind reader and know exactly what each customer wants from you at every stage. Well, that's kind of what RFM is. But before we get into that, let's tackle a teeny bit of modern marketing and sales theory. There's a seemingly endless debate between the funnel and the flywheel, but in truth, both models are right to an extent. Yes, sure, you need to bring in new customers, and that's always a sales and marketing focus. But especially in wholesale and distribution businesses, repeat orders and returning customers are key to profitability and predictable growth. Put bluntly, when repeat orders are your bread and butter, you can't afford to have a leaky bucket. So, successful wholesale and distribution businesses adopt a growth playbook that combines both the funnel and the flywheel. Let's take a look at that in a little bit more detail. In wholesale and distribution, it's not so much about this funnel versus the flywheel, but more about how to make the funnel and the flywheel work together to maximize sales and customer engagement. In any business, you want to maximize the flow of new customers coming in, and that means, first of all, attracting the right kind of leads, good quality leads that fit your ICP, your ideal customer profile. And we'll talk more about defining your ideal customer profile a little bit later. Then you need to nurture those leads through the sale and maximize your successful close rate. Doing these three things well will of course maximize the number of new customers which you'll bring into your business, which is great. But in wholesale and distribution, even more than other types of B2B sales, it's critical to maximize the retention, upsell, and where necessary, the reactivation of existing customers. We can take any simple example that we can all recognize. Distributing premium coffee to coffee shops, bikes to bike shops, packaging to takeaways, or food to delicatessens and restaurants, or indeed raw materials and components to manufacturers. Whatever it is that you're selling, the first sale to a customer is rarely profitable on its own. The profit is in the long-term relationship and the repeated supply of goods over time. So to create predictable and repeatable growth, we need to carefully onboard the first customer. We need to get the first 3 or 4 orders from them so they see you as their go-to supplier. Then ensure that we retain them for the long term, upsell them if necessary, and reactivate them if they start declining or churning as customers. But what's all this got to do with RFM? Well, if you want to successfully grow and execute this playbook, you need to know precisely which customers are where in your funnel and your flywheel, and how to target each customer appropriately, and what to say to them at each stage in the process. And you need to be able to do it fast and at scale. So whether you're talking about mass marketing or one-to-one account management, RFM segmentation will allow you to successfully target the right customer at the right time with the right message. RFM is in fact the only analysis that can drive your entire growth playbook. Now, I want you to hold that thought. We're absolutely going to make your flywheel spin in just a few minutes. But first of all, let's take a moment to understand what RFM is and how to do some basic maths to calculate it. No yawning at the back, please. Then, after that, we'll return to the most important question: how we can use this RFM data to speed up your funnel and your flywheel and drive your growth in a wholesale and distribution business. So RFM is a well-known and well-loved marketing and account management strategy for segmenting customers using data that you already have. You analyze their spend pattern across recency, frequency, and monetary value. It's a well-loved strategy and well-loved, well-used by big companies, but often it's ignored by SMEs just because while they typically have all the necessary data, understanding and calculating RFM seems complex and daunting, but it needn't be. The principles are logical and easy to understand, and modern technology makes the calculation significantly more approachable for SMEs on tighter budgets, without the need of expensive consultants or data analysts. So recency is a score of how recently they bought from you, usually expressed as a ranking score of 1 to 3 or 1 to 5. Frequency is a score of how frequently they've bought from you, usually over the last 2 years or the last year, and again expressed as a ranking score of 1 to 3 or 1 to 5. Then monetary value, the M in RFM, is how much they've spent with you in total over that period. Again, ranked 1 to 3 or 1 to 5. I said very glibly with a ranking score of 1 to 3 or 1 to 5, but what does that really mean? How do you calculate that ranking? Well, first of all, you analyze the customers you've got and work out sensible ranges for recency, frequency, and value, and then split that into 3 or 5 equal buckets. Could be equal in size buckets or range of values, but often it works better if the buckets are equal distribution of customers. So let's have a quick look at an example of that. So here you can see a range of values for recency, frequency, and monetary value. So somebody who's ordered 18 months ago might have a recency score of 1. 12 months ago, 2. 6 months ago, 3. 3 months ago, 4. And 2 weeks ago, the top score of 5. And similar for frequency. 0 to 6 orders in that period, 1. Going all the way up to 25 to 30 orders of 5. And again, for monetary value, the lowest spending customers at the bottom with a ranking of 1 up to perhaps £10,000 a month spend might give you a score of 5. Again, you need to create those ranges based on the sales that you've got in your business to your customers. So once we have these comparative scores, what do we do now? Well, you apply those scores to each of your customers and effectively build a 3D model of your customer's behavior. Similar to a Rubik's Cube. And if you're scoring 1 to 5, you get a slightly more complex model, like a 5 by 5 by 5 Rubik's Cube. And you can see in the top, you've got the kind of champions, and at the bottom, with the lowest scores all round, you've got the lost customers. And if you work it out like this, it's immediately obvious to most business owners and managers that this helps you identify the best and most promising customers. But in a small business, you quite often know who your champions are. So it's further down that the scores really help you. The lower scores help you to identify new customers that need to be onboarded and nurtured, previously loyal customers that have found a replacement product and need to be entered into a reactivation campaign, or customers who buy low value items regularly and are prime candidates to be moved up the value chain with an upsell campaign. The problem is, it's quite hard to work with 3D models and hard to illustrate and visualize them, especially if you want to see all the sides at once. So RFM is usually visualized using a flattening into a 2-dimensional pictogram like this one. In this 2D visualization, new customers arrive at the bottom right as new customers. If they begin to spend frequently with a decent value, they rise quickly up through potential loyalist onto loyalist and eventually become champions. But equally, a good frequently spending loyal customer can drift into needs attention and then at risk if they begin to spend less or less often or haven't ordered in a while. In the very worst case, you get high spending customers who stop buying as often or haven't ordered in a while, and they drift into don't lose them segment. Ultimately, A customer who cannot be re-engaged or doesn't re-engage fully then becomes a hibernating customer and eventually drops out the diagram as lost or churned in the bottom left. The secret clearly is to identify this trend early and act to reverse the trend long before you get to this stage. So to do this, you need to be calculating your values at least once a month, ideally weekly or even daily. Obviously, all that maths is a bit complex and can be daunting. You really can do it manually, but you should be ideally automating this. And especially if you're going to try to calculate this every week or every day, use some software to do that. And because RFM is critical to our entire growth playbook, we clearly need to share this RFM analysis and each customer segment with all of our customer-facing departments, whether in sales, marketing, account management, or customer service. So while this video is clearly focused on educating businesses about RFM, I'm sure you'll excuse a very quick plug. It goes without saying that the world's most popular software CRM, Prospect, is specifically designed for B2B wholesale and distribution businesses. So it's no surprise that it does the heavy lifting for you and has RFM segmentation built in. Here's an example of that report in the CRM system, showing you the customers with their RFM segmentation all readily calculated for you. And more than that, you can drill in and see the details of the RFM and how it's calculated for each customer. And if that's not enough, you can use that same data with a little bit more maths and a little bit more complicated AI calculations to even create predictive churn alerts to notify you when a customer is at risk of churning because they haven't placed an order in their predicted timescale. So now that we understand what RFM is, and we at least broadly understand how to calculate it, the last question, and perhaps the most important, is how do we use that and how is it going to make our business grow successfully? So let's take some really simple examples first. If we take our new customers, we can focus on the new customers that have just started to buy from us and onboard them with some personal contact. Really focus on getting the second and third and fourth order from them as soon as possible to turn them into regular, loyal customers. With our champions, we'd want to promote new products, get their feedback on the products that we're selling, and use them to get referrals, get good case studies, and perhaps most important of all, look at our champions and use them to define a strong ICP. Really focus our ideal customer profile on those customers that we can make happy, that we do already turn into successful champions. And at the bottom end of our customer base, the hibernating customers, perhaps we can retarget them with a 20% off offer for any order this month. And of course, we don't want to offer 20% off to our entire customer base because our champions and our loyal customers, they're going to order from us anyway. And all we'd be doing is giving away margin unnecessarily. Looking in more detail at each of the segments, there's a clear description of each of those segments and what makes a customer fit into that segment. And then we've identified some actionable insights that you can use at every segment along the way through the RFM. And I'll show you where you can get this this infographic chart towards the end of the video. So let's talk about a few things that you can do to put this playbook into action. The first thing I'd recommend you do is evaluate your champions and your loyalists versus your hibernating and at-risk customers and really define a strong ICP, ideal customer profile. Then compare your new business campaigns and your current leads with your ICP to focus on creating future champions. Use case studies, testimonials, and personal references from those existing champions to close the new accounts. Then stay on top of new and potential loyalists to fully onboard them and turn them into regular buyers. If there are too many of these, focus on the ones that match your ICP. These are your future champions. Target your existing customer campaigns and special offers to keep pushing new customers up and older customers to the right, building more high-value accounts. Then carefully target upsell to those customers that will respond, and don't waste your bandwidth on those that won't. And finally, focus your account management activity on the at-risk and do not lose them customers, or better yet, use some AI predictive churn alerts to help you focus on these customers quickly and early. So in summary, the growth playbook for wholesale and distribution will help you create predictable and repeatable growth. And RFM is the only analysis that can help you drive the entire growth playbook. So, what's next? I'd just very quickly like to offer you some more free resources and analysis to help you in your business. You can access some free resources for RFM from our website, and you can access a free trial. If you go to go.prospectsoft.com/RFM, this will give you access to some infographic wall charts that you can print out and put on your desk or stick on your wall. There's an RFM metrics infographic and the insights infographic to give you those actionable insights for each segmentation in your RFM infographic. And last but not least, I'd really encourage you to head over to prospectsoft.com, sign up for a free trial, connect your inventory management data, and then take action with the free RFM analysis and churn reports that you'll get in that free trial. It's entirely free, whether you take our software or not. You can take those insights and create some actionable analysis on your data today. Thank you very much for watching, and I hope you found this really useful.